Hi everybody, you're watching Delia Cooks. My name is Delia. Welcome to my kitchen. So today I'm going to be preparing a breakfast recipe, which is going to be a low carb recipe. And we're going to start with 2 eggs, some pork cracklins, a little bit of oil, a little bit of salt, a couple of jalapenos if you wish, a tomato, an onion, green onions, also optional, and some black pepper to taste. So let's get started with the recipe. Let's get started with the chopping. Okay, so at this time I'm just gonna start chopping the onions. And by the way, this was a small onion, and I'm gonna use the whole onion because I do love onions. It's up to you if you want to use the whole onion, a little bit. You just put as much or as little onion as you wish. Okay, so I'm just gonna put my onion in this little bowl, and then I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna move to the next item, which is my tomato. You can chop the tomato into small little chunks, or you can cut it into bigger chunks. Or as a matter of fact, you can also use canned tomatoes, the whole tomatoes if you like. I prefer the fresh ones, but it's up to you because you can moderate and control the sodium intake if you use fresh versus the ones that come in a can. But it's up to you how you want to make your dish. I'm just showing you how I personally like to make this breakfast dish, the pork cracklins with egg in the morning. And this is called in Spanish Chicharron a la Mexicana, which means pork cracklins with eggs, Mexican style, which we add the tomatoes, the onions, and the jalapenos. So my tomatoes are already all chopped up, and as you can see, they're not tiny pieces, but you can see the little chunks. It's up to you however you would like to cut it up into chunks or pieces or into bigger pieces. So let me go ahead and start cutting the onions, and I'll see you in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and start chopping the green onions. Like I said, these are optional. These are optional, but it does give the dish a really good flavor. I'm just going to cut them in half, and then I'm going to start chopping them just to make the pieces a little bit thinner. And also by cutting them in half, it prevents the onions to actually roll off your cutting board, because they have the tendency of rolling off when you leave them into little circles or little wheels. And this way they'll stay on your cutting board a lot better. Now I'm going to move on to my jalapenos, which is also optional, but all these ingredients make it a la Mexicana. And you can add as many jalapenos as you like. I'm just going to make mine with only 2 because I also like to add hot salsa to my dish. I'm I'm gonna add a green one and a red jalapeno pepper, and these are actually from my jalapeno plants from outside. And so that's all the jalapenos that I'm gonna add to my dish. And so let's get started with this dish because I am so hungry right now. So see you in just a second. Okay, so at this time I'm gonna go ahead and start adding my oil. I'm not gonna add too much. It's probably about maybe a tablespoon of oil. And once the oil gets hot, I'm thinking it is already because my pan is getting hot right now. And so to that, I'm gonna start by adding my onions. And I'm also gonna add the rest of the green onions, my jalapenos, and all of my tomato in there. Now, if you don't like it with a lot of tomato, you can cut back on the tomato and add maybe half of the tomato. But I really like my dish with a lot of tomatoes and onions and the jalapenos. So I'm gonna cook my onions and tomatoes. I'm gonna say about maybe a minute, just so they can get a little tender, because I want all my veggies to be tender but not mushy. So I'm gonna let them cook for about a minute, and if I feel that a minute is not long enough, then I'll probably let it go for another minute. So a minute to a minute and a half maybe, or two, and I'll check it at 2 minutes, and we're gonna see where we're at. Meanwhile this cooks, I'm gonna go and whisk my 2 eggs, and I'll see you in just a second. Let's start with the eggs. I'm gonna go ahead and put them in my bowl. I'm just gonna go ahead and whisk them really quick. The onions and the tomatoes and the jalapenos are smelling so delicious. I can't wait. I can't wait to finish this dish because I am so hungry. Okay, so once the eggs are done, then I'm gonna go back to the pan and I'm gonna go stir up my onions and my tomatoes, and we're at a minute, so let's see how they're looking. We're into 1 minute with the veggies. And at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and add my salt. Just gonna add just a little bit. Like I said, it's probably about maybe like a 1/8 of a teaspoon. It's not much. Cracklins already have salt in them, so I don't want my dish overly salted. So this is just gonna be perfect. So I'm gonna let my veggies cook for probably another half a minute, and then I'll come back in just a second. Okay, so this is what my vegetables look like after a minute and a half. And for me, for my liking, I think this is just perfect. I don't want them too mushy, so that's perfect. Now to that, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add a handful of my pork cracklins to it. And by the way, I was cooking the onions or the vegetables in a low to medium setting heat, so you don't want them to burn. So that's about a big handful of the pork cracklins. I'm just gonna give them a quick stir because I don't want them to get too soft, too mushy. I want to keep some of that crunchy consistency on the pork cracklins, and I'm gonna give them a quick stir. So that is it. That's all you need to do to it. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add my whisked eggs that I whisked a little while ago. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and pour them all over my cracklins and my vegetables. And I'm just gonna I'm gonna pick up the heat a little bit to medium, medium high, and I'm gonna let everything just sit here for a second and let it cook. And you cook it to the consistency that you like to eat your eggs. For my taste, I don't like them too overly cooked. As soon as I see that they're partially cooked, I turn off the heat and let them just sit here and cook all by themselves with the heat that's in the pan already. So this is what it's looking like. And let me just say, this dish right here, if you've never had it before, you're gonna love it, especially if you do low carb, or you're eating low carb, or you're on a low carb diet. This is gonna be perfect, and this is so tasteful. The vegetables give it an extra kick. It's still a little bit wet, so like I said, if you like it a little bit more cooked, then it's up to you. You cook the eggs how you want them or you prefer them. So for me, this right here is the perfect consistency. So this is done. It's a quick, very quick and easy recipe. It's a very traditional Mexican dish for breakfast. We love having this for breakfast. Let me go ahead and plate it and show you what it looks like, and I'm gonna give it a taste, and I'll see you in just a second. Okay, so here we have the finished product. This is the Chicharron a la Mexicana. What I did, I added some in a tortilla. You can serve it as tacos or make yourself some tacos, or like I said, if you are doing low carb, then leave out the tortilla. So let's give it a taste. This is so good. You can also add beans on the side if you like, but this alone, perfect. Perfect Sunday breakfast or Saturday breakfast. If you never had it, try it. You're gonna love it. So, hope you try it. I hope you like it, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye, everybody.